Isn't that the whole point of having a planning and zoning committee? They're the ones that do it, and you don't have anybody on it?
Well,
the law doesn't provide for anything called a planning and zoning committee.
Well, it's in the Georgetown Lake regulations for the zoning.
There's a county zoning commission.
No, it's the district. Excuse me, Millie.
And there's the Board of Adjustment.
Right, the Board of Adjustment is a county-wide, and you just mentioned about Georgetown Lake, since people are coming back, that's a county-wide board.
Yeah.
And it cannot be just for Georgetown Lake, number one. Not like last time when they advertised Georgetown Lake.
The Board of Adjustment?
That's right.
Okay.
Okay. And then we're talking about the Georgetown Lake Planning and Zoning, which also came about by resolution. And nobody is on it.
This is our juvenile.
And so, according to the rules and regulations that the Georgetown Lake Homeowners Association wrote up, they mention the Planning and Zoning for Georgetown Lake Committee. And nobody's in it. It's in their bio, it's in there.
I'm sorry, Elena, maybe we're talking about the same thing, but I'm not.
Well, when they went and
I'm not following what.
okay, when they went and they decided they were going to do a district zoning, which they didn't, they did countywide.
Right, when the Georgetown Lake zoning district was
Yeah,
put into place.
and there it says, there's a planning and zoning committee, and there's a whole bunch of stuff that pertains to that.
In the
And the,
resolution and rules and regulations for the zoning district?
for Georgetown Lake, yeah. It's in there. It's up on the website. It's for the planning board website. It's in there.
I guess I'd have to, I don't recall that contemplating separate committees.
Yes, it did. It's on the planning, well, you go through Linda Bork, and you know,
Okay, well,
and it's in there.
I'll take a look. So
Chris, why do you think I'm making such a big thing about this?
I just want to make, we're talking about the same thing.
Yeah. If you look at the whole district being created, and it was a district, they mention the Georgetown Lake Planning and Zoning Committee, and they make reference to the Adjustment Board, which is a county-wide thing.
Okay, but the language, zoning and planning committee.
That's right.
is-
Georgetown Lake, they have that together.
Zoning and planning committee.
And if you look at that resolution that you passed in November, it says Georgetown Lake
Well, it should say Georgetown Lake.
Planning and Zoning,
Zoning
or
and
even
planning
if it's just
district,
zoning.
but
Yeah,
Zoning and planning,
that's my whole complaint.
okay.
Which I also like to know when I'm going to be getting an answer on that one. So it involves the boards.
Soon.
I hope before this because, you know, lots of question.
Yes. It is.
Yeah. And I think the planning and the planning board should have also been advertised, which according to the minutes it was supposed to be. And that's part of the complaint also.
Right. That's the one on Christian.
Okay. But if you look at the Georgetown Lake District, it's in there. They make reference to their own committee and also the Adjustment Board.
Board of Adjustment and Zoning Commission, I'm familiar with, but a Zoning and Planning Committee.
Well, it's the Georgetown Lake.
Maybe
You
an
know,
earlier
on the
iteration of
advertisement
it.
thing, I think, you know, when we were concerned that there might be some person affected by the zoning, we wanted to make sure that they would have a board to be heard by, hence resolution
Okay.
21. And at the time that we adopted that, and Cliff is actually the one who said that, that, you know, this was, I was actually contemplating a few months, and Cliff said, well, we should in the spring, early summer, when people are around, the commissioners agreed that was appropriate to try it again.
Yeah.
On this advertisement, by putting that in, contemplating the Board of Adjustments, I think we're doing exactly what we said, and
Right.
because we have this pressing need of the weed board, I think it's handy to throw the BOA resolicitation in there.
It is time to move ahead. My
I mean, it's-
confusion is the language being used and whether we have another committee out there that isn't properly set up. But I don't think so.
So I think it's just, this is what we kind of have been
Oh, yeah.
planning all along, and it's kind of a fortuitous to need to run the weed board for sure.
Well, you know, the display ad is gonna cost you $80 a time, might as well.
Oh, it'll cost a little more than that, because
Whatever,
there'll be a
yeah.
list, you know. But, no, I think it's a good idea to throw it in there to, I just do, so. But I think the weed board's the driver right now on the urgency. It's not, it's not that urgent, but we're slow, and to try to make sure that, see, the noxious weed trust fund grants are in October, and it would be really horrible if the private landowners who were contemplating through their weed management areas essentially applying for those grants, if we had not dotted an I or crossed a T, that would not be a good thing. So we'll get the weed board in there. I'm just trying to think, Mike, it seems like we might have been short on one other. We're good on both cemeteries, right? Okay. Nobody passed away on the cemetery board, that seems to happen sometimes. Yeah, that might be worth just making sure since we're gonna run an ad. Just seems like we're short on one other one, but the fair board, we need to get.
Yeah,
We need to get filled also because their big thing is at the fair.
yeah, well, if they don't go to work now, you
Well, and our former member who quit was,
is that Monica? Okay.
you know, really a worker bee
Oh, yeah.
kind of thing, so, you know, I don't know if we're gonna find another worker bee, but it's at least those guys work really hard during the fair.
Yes, they do.
And I'd really like to make sure we send
Send somebody
a
to
full crew
represent us.
over there,
Yeah.
even if they're not as,
I know.
I don't think the fair would run that good if Eve wasn't there.
No. No,
I
I mean,
mean, from picking up panels, to
Oh,
setting
yeah.
panels, to loading the trucks, you know, with the livestock, the market animals, you know, they really need somebody, so we'll see if we can.
having attended a number of those fair board meetings and planning sessions and stuff over the years, you know, they have people there. There's of course Eve, and then there was the Billquist out of Anaconda, and you know, and a couple others that they just say, okay, they're going to handle this. You know,
And they would go
the
do
committee
it.
doesn't have to spend a minute on it. How you doing? I'm good. I mean, you need anything? I need $50. I need 2 panels. I need 3 guys for 5 hours. You know.
No, so we need to be as diligent as we can to try and get somebody over there. And that's always a tough one, because a lot of the people who are interested have kids in 4-H and, you know,
Well, that's not necessarily compatible. I mean, you'd want somebody who had knowledge of 4-H and.
well, I think all
the
of our
other-
current ones do have people in 4-H. Now, our 4-H council is a different group,
Okay.
okay? And they don't necessarily, those are the leaders and the extension guys, and they don't necessarily all have it, but EAF has kids, they all do have kids in 4-H, and that's kind of one of the reasons that they want to make sure that things the pens are set up and safe
Yeah.
and all that jazz. So I know it would be ideal not to have them with that, but that's the way it is, and it's the way it is with our other 2 member counties, so. Were you here for the law enforcement guys? Or
No, you were
Steve?
just saying, no.
Okay, just, we're gonna have this on the agenda next week, for a decision on, I mean, it's not really a decision, but it's a decision on the letter that the county will send to the town of Phillipsburg. And, yeah, I guess technically, Cliff, we should send the same one to Drummond.
Yeah, we will.
Even though
Should be.
Drummond will agree and Phillipsburg won't. But what the Phillipsburg Town Council had sent the Board of Commissioners a letter that said 1.5% for 5 years. And I wasn't even really sure if we could do a 5-year agreement.
Right.
And I kind of asked that question, but it sounded from Steve's and Cliff's discussion that the COLA plus in for 2 years would be
Oh, yeah.
acceptable to the sheriff and Cliff, so we're gonna have that on next week. Because we need to get that to the town council before their June 1st meeting, or, first week in June meeting.
Yeah.
Get it sent to them next week.
So they probably meet the 5th of June, they meet on Tuesdays.
So I'd like to get that out into them, following the decision, so they have time to contemplate it and everything. We don't really know what the COLA is,
Yeah, it's.
that comes up later, but.
But you, and you've decided to go back to a 2-year type arrangement, or?
2 years, we
Yeah.
figured. That's
Well-
a sure
To offer,
election,
yeah,
and Steve thinks 2 years is the time.
Yeah, I don't, I really can't recommend going any longer than that.
No, I can't either.
Well, I understand that they're just tired of it and they'd like to, but there's too many things that can happen,
Yeah.
that could really shift things around.
We get tired of it too.
Yeah, I mean, I
other
respect
trustees,
that, and
yeah.
I get it, and
Yeah, but-
it's nice, it's sort of forward thinking in a way on their part, but not.
Well, even if we did go 5 years by year 3, both parties would be real unhappy and we'd be renegotiating.
Yeah, and we might have a new sheriff in between. You might not want it at all, and have all kinds of stuff.
That's right.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's right, you weren't here for the beginning part of that.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll look for the admin, Mike.
Okay.
Thank you.
Oh, I just want clarification.
On,
Okay, for the record. This is countywide zoning, so there should be the adjustment for,
countywide zoning.
say that again?
No,
Right in the camera, your red light's not.
There is no countywide zoning.
Red light's not on, I don't think you're recording.
No, I'm recording.
Oh, aren't you supposed to have a telltale?
No, these are new stuff.
Oh, this is a new.
Yeah, well, see now,
Okay.
Chris, I think we have a problem here because half of it is, all right, if we don't have countywide zoning,
About the status of our zoning policies.
I'm not even asking that.
Oh, okay.
Okay, an adjustment board is countywide. It is not just geared for
Right,
the
but-
district
but
of, so,
Your question doesn't even point in the right direction because your question says, we have countywide zoning, right? And the answer is no, we do not have countywide zoning.
so then what do we have? District zoning?
We have a zoning district.
Okay, then, how does the Board of Adjustment fit into this thing?
According to how the statute sets it up for the Board of Adjustments to manage inside that district. And they're appointed, yes, on a county-wide basis. You don't have to be limited to residents
So
of the
that,
district.
okay, so we have one for Georgetown Lake, and then like at one time I asked if Black Pine can also have its own zoning district.
Yeah.
Okay, which
this
nobody
Board of
could tell
Adjustment-
me how it was done. I was supposed to call another county to find out how to do it.
But this.
But see,
this
you
Board of
did it,
Adjustment would
so-
cover that district, yes, if Black Pine is Drummond or.
But you just said, so now that's for district zoning, it's countywide, but then it's not?
Part one, part two.
Well, part one, part two, and then you also have Susan Swimley, who said you cannot take over the authorities of these two boards, and yet the resolution still has the county commissioners over control of these two boards. So that's okay also, right?
No.
Okay. So, again, you know, it's one and one, it's two things that we're talking about, apples and oranges. And nobody's, you know, keeping it, either it's one or the other. You have a count, and then you have a planning board, which is county, or you have this, or, I don't get it. I'm supposed to understand this. And then I applied for the boards, and then I'm just totally discounted.
Question. Are you still interested?
Well, yeah, I was interested for the planning board. But they already picked somebody that I had no idea that they picked somebody for that, remember? That's my complaint.
Would you guys require a separate application from Elena to be considered for the other boards under this application, this ad that you're putting out?
I put in 2 applications, one for the planning board, the planning board,
Right.
and one for the adjustment board.
Right. So there are no appointments to the planning board, I don't think, to be made at this point, but.
Because I already had mine in.
Can they look at your application for the zoning board of adjustment, or do you have?
Chris,
want to make a
I
move?
already had my application in for the planning board,
Right,
okay?
okay.
And then Mr. Christensen comes in at 2 o'clock.
Elena, that one I'm not gonna comment on.
Well,
because
you know,
we're
I'm still
into it.
thinking, why, I had an application in for that. I wasn't contacted about it. What do you think my point is in this?
Well,
I'm saying it was a
I
leg,
don't know, you don't have, I mean.
what's the point in filing?
I'm not gonna debate or argue. with
Well,
you.
this has to do with the
Are
boards.
we done with board?
Okay, thanks a lot. This, folks, is how things are run in Granite County, okay? This is how it's done. I don't know why you bother even putting anything in the newspaper. You just call them up and see who you want on the board. Chris has already said he's going to do that.
They're always advertising.
Yeah, why bother? You make the